And welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Weekly Show, a podcast brought to you by the Livingston Parish News. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news, and this is Around Livingston. It's where me and this gentleman here talk about what's going on around Livingston. There's a shocker. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, everyone. This is David Gray, news writer with the Livingston Parish News.
And we are going to be moving at a pretty quick tilt today. If you can't tell, my allergies are killing me. So we're going to be barreling through. First and foremost, a celebration last week. There's been an ongoing, let's start here. The federal government announced that they were going to be issuing funds to try to help expand broadband into rural areas that don't have it. Representative Buddy Mincy Jr. Established a committee here to try to work with the state government to, identify places that could use broadband and that sort of thing here in Livingston Parish. And it looks like things are finally starting to come together. There was a celebration last week. You were in attendance. Tell us about it.
Yeah, that was a groundbreaking ceremony for this broadband expansion. This is going to help around 500 homes and small businesses in rural parts of Livingston Parish get access to high-speed internet. And this is sort of one of those things that have been, there's been a great push, especially after COVID, once everything kind of switched to, working remotely, learning remotely, telehealth, that sort of stuff. Everything, the need for high-speed internet just became more glaring, and there's a lot of areas that don't really have it. Livingston Parish, I believe 40% is underserved. So this is a push just to kind of help with that. Spectrum is the one who's going to be providing this broadband. Total, it's about a $3 million project. It was 1.73-ish that was supplied through a grant, and the other 1.25 million is being invested by Spectrum itself. So about $3 million to boost this broadband expansion, and it's kind of a statewide push as well. This is something that Governor Edwards said, and he was in attendance, as well as Representative Garrett Graves. They kind of talked about that this is something that is happening on the state level, and that the goal for Louisiana before the end of the 2020s is to eliminate the digital divide. So that's something that Governor Edwards kept talking about with excitement during that groundbreaking ceremony.
Right. So, and we did a podcast with several members of the committee. It was not last fall, but 2 falls ago. So I believe it was fall of 2021.
Yeah, the committee was made in the summer of 2021. The Link Up Livingston Committee. That's the committee made up of local stakeholders who they're the ones who are sort of navigating the system of applying for these grants. And that 1.73 that Livingston Parish got was the first round of gumbo grants. So there's going to be other rounds that come to the state that this committee will be able to apply for.
So congratulations to that committee. They started, and they haven't finished, but they got a grant. Yeah. So that's not easy. Not everybody gets a grant. No. So congratulations to them. Moving into the city of Denham, this is interesting. So for years, Denham has been very, very strict in their enforcement of things like noise ordinances and fireworks, and that has always been a big push that they've partnered with us on every year to make sure that everybody knows that fireworks inside the city limits are banned. They're thinking about bringing that back to a public hearing to reconsider that full ban on fireworks. So give us the details on that.
Yeah, this has been something they mentioned it during their first meeting in February. And it was actually the second straight meeting they had talked about the fireworks ban, and it will be brought up for a public hearing and possibly voted on February 27th. So this is just to give a couple of exceptions to the fireworks ban. There will still technically be a ban, but there will be 2 exceptions for it, and those exceptions would be on Independence Day, 4th of July, and New Year's Day, spanning New Year's Eve to New Year's Day. And I believe it's from about 6-ish until 1 o'clock on New Year's, and then it ends at 11 o'clock on the 4th of July, I believe. So that's just kind of what they're hoping. Robert Poole, councilman, he was actually one of the councilmen who spoke against this years ago whenever the city was considering implementing a full out ban, because it's kind of gone through some weird history, this ban. Whenever the code of ordinances was updated, it got left out, so therefore that just means that it was repealed. So then they added it back in the mid 2000s. They had exceptions for it, I believe, in 2006, but then they re-implemented it back in 2007. So for the last 15 years, there's just been a full out ban, and you still have people who break it. That's kind of something that they struggle with every year, just making sure people are aware of it, because a lot of times people just don't know they can't do it. And like you said, they every holiday with fireworks, they reach out to us to post something about it. But this is a way of just letting people be able to have a little bit more fun. Robert Poole said be able to make some memories with their kids. He mentioned having memories with his own father, being able to pop fireworks. But there's some people who aren't necessarily for it. Some of the council members and Mayor Gerard Landry, they've kind of been against it. Main thing is that Denham is kind of condensed to have that. I mean, 7.5 square miles. You got a lot of people packed in there, and a lot of people are shooting off fireworks. That upsets animals, infants. Mayor Landry brought up veterans suffering from PTSD, which is a consideration. So, we'll see if they decide to pass it. It did have the support of the local fire chief and police chief if they were to implement this. So, but there will also be an exception to that. If there's any sort of burn ban in effect, then there would be no fireworks allowed during that time. So, but like I said, it should be decided on February 27th. So if you have an issue with that, council meeting starts at 6 o'clock, and there will be a public hearing on it.
So it's going to be interesting to see, like you said, varied past behind that ban. So going to be interesting to see what the city does with that. Last but certainly not least, a bit of unfortunate news out of the central office for the school board. Unfortunately, some things happened. I'm going to let you get into the details of what happened, but several $1 million, a little over $2 million, misappropriated to false bank accounts hosted by false clients. So give us the details on how that happened.
Yeah, this was the school board in early 2022 paid out $2.2 million to schemers, basically. And most of the money has been recovered, and the investigation is still going on. But basically what happened, the school board received emails requesting changes in electronic funds transfer payments. And this information is from Louisiana Legislative Auditor's Office. So it was found during their annual audit. The school board has to go through these every year, and that's how this was found. And basically, to sum it up, basically there was procedurally there were some steps that were missed. Schemers who were posing as vendors requested their payments to be made differently than they are typically paid, and instead of calling and asking and verifying those payment changes, the payment changes were just allowed, and so those funds were paid to false bank accounts. And then when the legitimate vendor was asking about the payments, that's when someone said, "Oh, wait a minute, we paid this. Maybe that wasn't supposed to be paid," and that's when they were able to find that they had made $2 million in false payments. But like I said, most of the money has been recovered, and Superintendent Joe Murphy said that their insurance policy they're waiting to hear back on that, but should be able to recoup the rest of those damages that were lost. So I mean, ultimately it seems like they'll get away with not having lost anything, but it was just kind of one of those situations where people got upset that this happened, that steps were apparently skipped right before the school board has a proposed tax on the March 25th ballot. So just add a little bit of fuel to that fire of people who are kind of speaking out against this tax, or not wanting to see Livingston Parish subjected to another tax. So yeah, it was just a bit of unfortunate news, and the school board did say they were going to implement new procedures to sort of make sure something like this doesn't happen again. So that is one silver lining of it, to hopefully prevent future things like this from happening.
Sure. So thank you, sir. Appreciate you giving us the rundown on what's going on around Livingston. If you'll introduce yourself.
Yeah, this is David Gray, news writer with the Livingston Parish News.
And my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys for joining us for the Livingston Parish News Weekly Show. Again, this is Around Livingston. Remember, the news is on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays at $7 a month to get that in your mailbox. We're also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. One last time, we appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you next time.